this is my last travel spread in Project Life for this vacation. If you haven't been following along, I have been documenting our trip to Spain and Morocco in Project Life, and I'm splitting it up for a spread per destination rather than a weekly spread. So for Project Life, I typically do a Monday through Sunday weekly spread, but for travel, I mix it up and do a spread per destination. So this spread actually is going to cover 2 destinations, just like the last one did, because they were 1 day each and kind of related. So the first place was Madrid. So I have these photos were all for Madrid, and I'm just kind of trying to figure out how I want to arrange them on the page. So Madrid itself doesn't have a ton of like sightseeing to do. It's just a overall kind of nice city. So we just had 1 day there to kind of sightsee. And so I have some photos of the things we saw. I also printed a photo of our breakfast one morning, a photo of a craft store we visited, and a photo of cough syrup in Spanish because I was super sick with a cold and I needed cough syrup. So that site is going to be Madrid. And so this spread covers 4 days. So the 14th was our travel day to Madrid from Morocco. We were in Casablanca the day before, which was the prior spread. Then the 15th, we spent the day in Madrid. So all of these photos are from the 15th. The 16th, we took a day trip to Segovia, which is a smaller town in Spain full of all sorts of like historical things and pretty things to see. And I just have a ton of photos related to Segovia here. Trying to decide how I want to arrange them on this page. And there we go. I don't know if that's what I'm going to stick with, but that's my initial thought. So I have just a 4x6 pocket here, and I have some 3x4s here. And so then the 17th was our day that we flew home, and I didn't print any photos from that day. It was just a super long travel day. So I'm not entirely sure exactly how I want to arrange this. I might actually like put this like this so I could have 2 3x4 journal cards, maybe one for the travel day and one for the day in Segovia. So I'm going to pull out the Ellie Edwards travel collection from 2025 again. I used this for my spread for Barcelona, which was a couple of spreads ago, and I do have a video for that one. And I have it in this large tray. In my last video, someone asked about this tray. I got this from IKEA years ago. I don't know what it's called. I just kind of found it in the store one time while browsing, but I use it for some like larger kits like this. It's a little bit harder to store, but it makes it easier while I'm working with it to kind of pull something out and then put it away. So let's see, let's go through the cards first. We've got some transparencies. I used some of the transparencies before. This one is super cute, but again, it's a transparency. And I don't know that I would say Segovia was the best. It was probably the most picturesque location. And we've got like some vellum. And then this quote I don't understand that quote with the context of travel. This one was nice. I could do something like that if I wanted to do kind of less journaling. So I'm going to do that as an option just to kind of keep this spread simple, but I'm thinking I probably want some journaling. I could do the highs and lows, but again, this is not the full trip. This is just these 2 destinations. And this one could be good if I wanted to do some longer journaling here. There's a few of those. This stripe one, I cut it down last time to use as my title card for Barcelona, and I want the spread to look a little bit different. So I could use this one and do journaling about this entire kind of adventure. So that's also an option. I'm gonna put these ones back as things I'm not gonna use here. This I used on that last spread. I cut it in half. It was a 4x6. And I also used some of these detail cards on the last one to include my journaling. And I also could do these, like this could be about the travel day. This could be embarking. I mean, I could do that. I'm kind of leaning towards wanting to do like one long journaling card here. But the problem is I want both of these, and they're both 4x6s. So what I could do is kind of split this one into 2 pockets. I'm wondering if I can get away with doing that like this and cutting it and doing like that. That's an interesting idea. I've never done that before. Maybe I'll put this like that and do some, I'm thinking of doing some typed journaling to do kind of Madrid and Segovia. I just wish it wasn't a 4x6. So I'm trying to think of what else I could do. I like this one as maybe on my title, because this is definitely coming home. And then stuff I encountered. Could put this on top of a photo. But I don't really want to cover up that much of any of my photos. Maybe I could do it on like the craft store, but I don't think I want to do that. I think I might use this one though for my title card. And then there are these little guys. I hadn't used these in the previous spread, so I'm thinking maybe I could use some of these on this spread. So let's see what we have here. I'm just going to go through these quickly by myself. So I put some of these tags on that I think will be good. I'm going to use this as my title card. I'm wondering if I can put it like on this vellum. Or is that too much vellum? I kind of like it with maybe a label sticker. Or I have these guys. No, that's too much. Okay, so then what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to create some journaling cards. And I'm going to go make these digitally, because I want to type some journaling up here. I think that that would be really good for this spread. And I'm not sure yet if I want to use this as my title card. I think I'm going to figure out how I want to arrange these in a way to maybe do like one about Madrid and then one about Segovia. And then this page is going to be mostly just photos with a couple embellishments, because the journaling is going to be on this side, which I'm okay with. I was originally thinking like this side would be Segovia and this side would be Madrid, which it mostly is, but I just love putting this big kind of statement piece here. So I don't know that I want to include the journaling on this side as well. Thinking now, sorry, I got an idea, maybe putting that one. And I know that that is the same that I did in my Barcelona, but it kind of ties the two together. It was this one that I did in the Barcelona spread, and just doing the other color for this one might be kind of fun. There's also all of these like die cut pieces I could pull from, like these travel details or something like that. But a lot of them, it's just, they're too big for 3x4 pockets. I think that these work really well in a separate album, which is what I'm going to do. I could also do these little guys on some of them, but I did the tags instead. So I could have do these like instead of the tags, like sightseeing. Not enough. I do like this time well spent one. There's just so many parts that I like. It's hard to kind of narrow down what I want to do. I could use this. I might use those on my journaling cards. Let's see, that's meal. And some of these I'm going to use, so I plan to use this collection in a travel album that I have not yet made, but I did pull out a lot of the pieces for that. So I have like, there's a lot in this collection to use for various projects, not just what I'm using here. These are super cute. I could put those like on the O's. I wish they were slightly smaller, they would fit better. And then there's obviously these ones you could also use, which would be great for if you want to use this in Project Life, you could use these as your repeated element with your journaling. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go onto my computer and type something for those two spots, and then I will pop back on here. Okay, I'm back. I went over to my computer and I typed these up on some white, and I just printed this out on white matte photo paper. This is the thin photo paper that I use in my journal. So when I print at home, I have two papers I use pretty frequently. This one, which I use to print things to add into my journal. And then I have an actual photo paper, which is the Luster photo paper. And that's what I use to print like these photos. So these are two different papers. And this one is like kind of glossy, but not super glossy, like it doesn't show fingerprints. And this one feels just like regular paper and it's super thin. It's probably hard to tell on camera, but this one is a little bit thicker, like an actual photo. And so these, I use this paper to print things for my journal mostly, but if I'm printing like a journal card or type journaling, I tend to use this one as well. Because once I slip it in the pocket, it's fine. It doesn't need to be any thicker. And I find that I like the way that the ink looks on it for typing. It's very crisp. So I printed out some things here because I was thinking about maybe like highlighting these a little bit. Like highlighting, so I'm gonna see if that works. So I'm pulling over my mild liners. I'm looking for my gray. And it might actually be in my tray here. These are like my most common pens. And I keep this on my desk and you can see it's getting super full because I have a lot of fountain pens inked up right now. And I need to go through and clean that out later today. But here's my gray mild liner. So my thought was, can I highlight? Yes, I can. So I'm gonna just highlight the dates. So what I did was I added dates on here for each. So like I said, this spread covers 4 days. And so what I'm doing is just highlighting the date. And I put the date at the top of each like paragraph, summarizing what happened that day. And this gray highlighter is honestly running out of ink, but I think I have a backup. I don't know why I keep not highlighting far enough. But there we go. I just wanted to add a little bit of something to it. The fact that the highlighter is running out of ink kind of gives it a little bit of character. So I printed these. You saw they were kind of like, I drew squares in Photoshop to know where to type, and I left space because I wanted to add this washi tape. I'm trying to figure out which direction it goes. It goes this way. No, that looks upside down. I wanted to add this washi tape. I obviously did not line that up right. I wanted to add this washi tape from the collection along the top and the bottom of these to make my own journal cards. And because I don't want to do what I just did, I'm just going extra and I will cut it after. There we go. Just taping it down to my table. I'm going to do this one next. You can try to line it up perfectly with the edge, but I find it very hard to line up like the corner. So this way I can focus on making sure I get it straight across the edge, and then I can just trim the rest of this down. So let me do that quickly. these scraps. Okay, so then I also pulled over these two little die cuts, and I think what I want to do is adhere each one to like the top center here to kind of create the journal card. So you can tell that I left a little bit of extra space at the top, more than the width of the washi. And how I did that was just on my computer, I drew the 3x4 rectangle so that I would have those crop lines. And then when I typed inside of it, I just added a little bit of, I used like guide marks in Photoshop to leave myself 3/4 of an inch at the top and a 1/2 inch at the bottom. And I probably should have done a full inch at the top, but I think that this works close enough because of the way that the date is. And then I can just add those on there and put these like that. And I'm not sure that I like that exact configuration, but I know this is kind of going off the camera, sorry. I'm just gonna move this tray. Normally I have more space on my desk to push things up there, but right now I have my December daily stuff over there. And so I don't have the room to kind of push that large tray to the side. Okay, so let me create my title card. And I pulled over these labels from my stash, and I just want to create my title card with the dates. Grabbing my StazOn ink and my rolling date stamp. So we need October 14th, 2025 to the 17th. And then I just need to adhere this guy down. Honestly, I think I could put that a little lower. There we go. And this is vellum, but I don't mind getting the adhesive on the back because it's black, so you can't see it through. There you go. Okay, so I have my title there. And let's see. So I have these guys to do, the little tags. And I think I want to add those with some brads. And then the other thing I wanted to do was for my travel spreads, I like to add a large title of the destination. So I pulled over these alpha stickers from Kelly Perky's shop. I have like a whole ton of these. And I think on this photo and this photo, I'm just gonna put the destinations of each location with these alpha stickers, and it will kind of mirror across the sides of the spread. So how I'm gonna do that is I need a piece of acetate, and what I'm gonna do is just grab the backer of this set because it's a nice thick acetate, and I'm going to use this to center my alphas. So I have done this in the past, but essentially I'm just gonna write Madrid, and I'm just gonna line it up on the edge of this acetate. So let me just do that quickly. Okay, so I want to put them on there so that they're just attached enough to keep them in place, but that they are mostly hanging off of the plastic. And the reason I want to do that is because then I can kind of hover it where I want it and figure out exactly how I want it to look, and then just lay it on my photo, push them down, and then peel out the acetate. There we go. There's Madrid. So I'm going to do the same exact thing for Segovia. Now, this isn't perfect because sometimes they don't seem perfectly straight from that, but I find that that is my favorite way to kind of visualize what it's going to look like, especially because that way you can kind of center the text a bit better. So that's just my little tip for that. Okay, so now what I need to do are these tags. So I'm gonna go into my stash and find some brads. So here's my embellishment tray that has brads in it. I'm just gonna slide this over so I can fit this in here. And I have a video sharing how I organize my loose embellishments like this, so I will link that in the description box for you guys if you're interested in that. This tray is from Stamp & Storage, and I do have that information linked in the description box below as well if you are interested in storing loose embellishments like this. But essentially what I'm gonna do is I need to peel up the plastic on these, and then I'm going to use a paper piercer and a foam core board to pierce a hole in each of these pictures and then adhere these down using the brad. I think I'm going to use these little copper brads, and I will probably add a little bit of rolling adhesive just to make sure it stays where it needs to be. So I'm going to put you guys on fast forward while I put these down. I don't know that I need to do any voiceover in this video because I'm pretty much doing most things with you in real time just because I don't have to do any journaling or anything. So yeah, I'm gonna put some music on while I do this and then I'll pop back on. So just a couple thoughts though while I work on this. These photos are gorgeous. These are my favorite photos. I love my photos from travel. I always take like a million photos while traveling, and I did share in some of my earlier process videos for Project Life from this trip a little bit more about my process for documenting vacations. But as far as putting embellishments on top of photos, I'm not really concerned about it because I do have the originals of these. They're all digital photos, so I have them all saved digitally. And I will likely blow up and print larger versions of my favorite photos and put them in other projects. I might frame some of them. So the fact that these end up with like embellishments on top of them doesn't really bother me at all. I know that some people are bothered by that. And I think that was more of a thing back when we used to get film photos developed. Back then I used to always get duplicates or like doubles so that I could use one in my scrapbook and one I would just keep one. Of course, you know, I still cringe looking back on some of those old photos where I like cut them out around like the person's head or something, but still, it's all for, you know, the craft. And let me just, I have trouble getting the rolling adhesive to work on this plastic. Sometimes it doesn't want to go. I really don't need that much adhesive on these because they are held down with the brad. And I think the brad pretty much holds them in place, but I just wanted to do a little adhesive so they don't shift around in the pocket, because with the brad, they could rotate. But because they're in the pocket, they probably won't move anyway. So I just wanted a little bit of adhesive on there. Okay. There we go. I think, let's see. I think I actually want to put one more label sticker on this. I have these just to kind of talk about getting the cough syrup. I think that's it. So I'm going to go ahead and slip these into the pockets. So this vellum here, I'm gonna just leave it as a transparent vellum for right now, but on the other side, I will most likely put something that has a white background. All of my photos that I print have a solid white background. So it's possible a photo will go behind that. If I end up putting like a pocket card that has something on the back, I will just put some of the white paper behind it so that you can't see the pattern through the vellum, rather than worry about leaving it as a transparent element. Right now, if you flip it, it looks like this, but I don't think I'm gonna want that in this spread, which I'm using the highs and lows collection for that spread. So I don't think that I'm going to want that there. I don't actually know yet. I haven't printed my photos or really even looked at my stories for that week yet. So I will figure that out at that time, so you can see that in that video. But as far as using the transparent pieces or the vellum pieces in Project Life, I tend to just cover up the back because I don't like coordinating it with the 2 weeks. However, occasionally I will. I did that recently in my Barcelona spread. I had a transparent piece that I used for my title card on the other side, but because it was a transparency, the picture was just as bold on both sides. So I really liked how that one came out, but it definitely involves more coordination across the two spreads to do the same thing on both sides. So I guess my point is that makes it a little more complicated. So if that is throwing you off, don't worry about it. Just put white paper behind it and move on. Okay, here's a look at that completed spread. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. And as always, I hope to see you guys on the next one. Bye.